geeks! We got new chapters of Wind and Truth, 12 and 13, bringing our total to a rather unlucky number. But despite that, I've got new theories, new thoughts, and new reactions. This series has become much more of an extended brainstorm between myself and you wonderful viewers who keep me thinking with your wonderful comments down below. Please keep them coming as we dive on into the spoilerific reviews of chapters 12 and 13. Full spoilers for all Tor released content.
Home and always I am on my way.
Chapter 12 sees Kaladin finally off from Urithiru. Given that each of his chapters he has accomplished a different goal and spoken to different people, this didn't lag so much as Shallan's leaving, even though technically Shallan's was shorter. With the Windrunner party, Sanderson is blatantly weaving in new plot threads. Relane's concern about his new rise to radiance, though Renarian isn't there, which I find weird. And of course, Sigzil's concern about his ability to lead the Windrunners. And, well, we all know where that's headed.
Run, boy, run. This world is not meant for you.
Kaladin gets a new forehead tattoo to match his Bridgefor brothers in arms, and now all the meme makers are going to have to find new shorthand for indicating who Kaladin is in their work. If there are any memes to be made, this whole new emotionally stable Kaladin is slightly less memeable than the brooding Bridgemen. But just because he's got his emotions under control now, doesn't mean that Kaladin is out of problems. The Traitor. I'm almost surprised at how vengeful Kaladin seems to be at the memory of the traitor formerly known as Moash. I mean, it's been books when the traitor has treated him like garbage, and yet Kaladin's found every excuse and determination to try and save him. And he even went so far as to punch Rishon for the sake of Moash, even though Rishon is objectively punchable on so many levels. I wonder, was Kaladin's fourth ideal not only him accepting that he could not have saved Teft, but finally realizing that he was not going to save Moash? And it's kind of a huge relief to see Kaladin finally viewing the traitor formerly known as Moash in the way that most of the fandom sees that guy. However, Kaladin is bringing a new, almost vengeance-like twist to the matter. He had not given up his right to take Moash to task. Kaladin would see that Teft got a chance to spit on Moash in the afterlife, if such a thing actually existed. Now, just as Rishon was objectively worthy of getting punched in the face, the traitor formerly known as Moash is objectively worthy of being unalived. You can disagree with me, but you are wrong. Now, just because that is the case, Kaladin seeking to bring about that end in the name of justice seems like a bit of a weird fit. He's never been a good killer, and the last time he sought justice, it almost killed Syl. So I wonder if Kaladin is now poised to answer,
"Many that live deserve death. Some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo?"
The nice thing about mercy is that it's not about protection or saving someone. It's about doing justice to that person. So I wonder if this is how Szeth is going to help Kaladin. It's been obvious that Kaladin is going to help Szeth with his whole sanity thing, but they are two Sanderson protagonists stuck together for the foreseeable future. Of course they are going to help each other. It's just a matter of how. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Unless it's to say that Moesh did nothing wrong, then I don't want to hear it. Mystery author. Now that day 1 of the final 10 days is officially over, it's clear that Sanderson wants the author of the epigraphs to remain a mystery, just as he did with Oathbringer in Oathbringer and Rhythm of War in Rhythm of War, though that one was eminently obvious to the casual reader. The subterfuge, I'm pleased to say, extends into the audiobooks where Michael and Kate both read the epigraphs before their own selective chapter. I am very pleased about this because it means that Tor has finally released the audiobook chapters like they've been promising, and now I don't have to read all those gosh darn words every Monday. It's been so hard.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
The last clue to the author's identity comes from them definitively stating that they are not on the trip to Shinovar. I was not with them. I did not know of their quest. Yet, I will do my best to recount their story and that of the wind, for they were her champions. Seeing Syl pick up a pen last week made me excited at the thought of her being the author of the definitive work of the Front Five. Now that Sanderson has disqualified her, I'm, Now, I guess he also disqualifies Shallan, who has been made officially aware of Kaladin and Zeth's little quest, and Dalinar himself, who I never had as a strong candidate because he's going to die in this book, leaving, I guess, Yasna. Now, I can see a Yasna because of other spoiler reasons that I won't get into, though it seems a bit far-fetched that Dalinar was able to send Kaladin and Zeth off on a secret mission without Yasna knowing about it. Stranger things have happened, I suppose. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Syl's honor. Many of you in the comments have voiced concerns about Syl's ambition as an honor friend to find and train and protect Honor's future champion. And now that Kaladin doesn't seem to be doing that, the questions seem to be what's Syl going to do now? Well, with the latest epigraphs, it definitely seems like being the Wind's champion is just as big a deal, if not more so, than being Honor's champion. For while the contest of champions was to happen in the East, a different contest was to happen in Shinovar, and one that the Wind swore was equally vital, perhaps more so. So, if Syl had left the cognitive realm solely for the reason of seeking out Honor's future champion, it seems like she could be content with the honor of being the spren to the Wind's own champion herself. After all, it was the Wind who originally told Syl about Kaladin. It's like when I first picked up a spear, Kaladin whispered. I was just a child. Were you with me back then? All that time ago? No, Syl said. And yes, it can't be both. It can. I knew I needed to find you, and the Winds knew you. They led me to you. So, let's break that fourth wall and linear thinking to recall that in the Divine Comedy, Beatrice, Dante the Pilgrim's salvific love interest, was sent to his aid by ways of Mama Mary herself. Now things will come full circle when you remember from my Wheel of Time reviews that
They call the wind Mariah.
ooh yeah, it's all coming together. In defense of pessimism. So, Drehy survived day 1, and I was wrong. I can admit it, it's a state that I'm becoming more and more familiar with ever since I so greatly misjudged the wind. But this is kind of fun to just shoot from the hip and see what happens. I do sort of feel like Sanderson set us up for a big sneak around the whole army like.
Wow! If you're hungry for a hunk of fat and juicy meat.
And then just skip that scene entirely. But what we lack in Hula Dancing Windrunners, we make up for with Shallan getting her Radiant Shard Plate. I love how Kaladin got the Magic Girl Glam transformation off of Urithiru, and Shallan's transformation is so much more, Shallan. I am ever so slightly saddened by the fact that during her final conversation with Kaladin in the front five, the fact that they both leveled up to shiny armor level radiance wasn't mentioned. Though, how does one bring that up in conversation? I guess we'll never know. Otherwise, that conversation was, in all other regards, absolutely perfect. And I think that my sense of impending pessimistic doom over the past chapters has really added to my level of enjoyment because I wasn't expecting this. Sanderson might love an optimistic, if depressed, protagonist, but then they are only ever disappointed when things go wrong, whereas I'm happy when things go right. Now, the only problem with being a pessimist, determined to see the worst possible outcome as the only outcome.
This is the worst possible thing! Why?
Is that sometimes I miss the glaringly obvious second worst possible thing. It's about 2 a.m. last Thursday when I realized that if Odium had gathered forces in Shadesmar to attack Azimir, it meant that he must have a way to get them through the Oathgate at Azimir, and that the Oathgate at Azimir was in fact corrupted by Satjanat.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
And that, it turns out, was correct. I don't know you, the Spren said. You aren't my friends. You are my oppressors. Now I find liberation. Go. We will transfer you, and will continue to do so, for now. When the singers arrive, we will transfer them. This is liberation. With hindsight, I can now see that Sanderson has been setting this up since Oathbringer at least, when Dalinar visited Azimir via Oathgate and he imagined the worst possible thing. Unfortunately for the Azish, the control building alone was not the gate. A Radiant could make this entire dome vanish, replaced with an army in the middle of Azimir. Fortunately for the Azish, only the second worst possible thing is happening, as Odium's forces are opting to attack through Shadesmar, meaning that they are limited to bringing troops in to the small control building that, as we've seen in Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, and now Wind and Truth, only that transfers between the cognitive and physical realms. This means also that Odium's forces, much like the current Radiants, have yet to figure out how to transport one physical realm platform to another physical realm platform without going through Urithiru in the middle. This has been theorized, but not yet realized. 10 platforms here, 10 across the world. The glyphs on the floors indicated that it might somehow be possible to transport directly from one city to another without coming to Urithiru first. They hadn't discovered how that might work. I figure between my highly theorized but totally going to happen Battle of the Shattered Plains and the confirmed Battle of Azimir, someone's going to need to transfer an army very quickly between those two places, and it would not do to have a layover at Urathiru in the meantime, especially since the duel is happening there and it might get stretched out of time, space, and reality. If you had to secure me on a direction, I'm going with the listeners riding to the aid of the war camps and securing there first, where they will easily be able to form ranks on their pretty much clear Oathgate platform that would then transport them to the wreckage of the dome that is awaiting them in Azamir. This would be a perfect reversal of the Azish fears of Alethi gaining instantaneous transportation through the Oathgates, as the Alethi would be coming to help, not slaughter. Not to mention, it would be a good recompense for the atrocities committed by the Sunmaker back in the day against the Azish. Finally, I like this because Adolin is going to have to sweet talk the now liberated Oathgate Spren of the Azish platform. All around, I'd see this as the best possible outcome of the second worst possible scenario. Now for the final and most important topic of any video ever, we have shipping. Kaladin tells Syl that he is actually, finally, for reals, most definitely no longer into Shallan. Maybe we'd have worked it out, but right now, I'm glad I don't have to try. I'm glad she has Adolin. He's what she needs. And what do you need? Syl asks softly. Always looking out for me, are you? It's basically my only job. We also see that Shallan is over Kaladin as well, though she appreciates and begrudges his ongoing bromance with her husband. Kaladin awkwardly bent and gave her a hug. He followed it by hugging Adolin, and if she were the jealous type, she'd have noted that Adolin's hug was longer than hers. And it's good to see that our lead's friendship has survived the insidious torture of a Sanderson love triangle. Now that Sanderson is definitively clearing away the torture device, I gotta wonder why. Is it to pave more way for that Syladin shipping that seems to have percolated through these past chapters? Syl saying that her job is basically to only make sure Kaladin is happy kinda cuts both ways, because in a relationship, don't you want two fully realized people and not one who is emotionally dependent on the other? Until very recently, Syl was basically that on account of the magic system, though as a Spren, she wasn't exactly the human emotionally draining equivalent. And in Rhythm of War, she does take some of her own initiative. Regardless, I need to understand him so I can help him, Syl said. Not because I'm going to be consumed by his desires, but because it's what I want to do. Now that Syl is pretty clearly functioning as her own person, and not just as an extension of Kaladin, I can see a way for this relationship to actually work. As examining my own biases, my reason for disliking Syladin is rooted mostly in the classic trope of chivalric love, which we all know must be
to love pure and chaste from afar.
The trope of chivalric love coming from the high Middle Ages troubadours such as Dante himself was in fact quite pure and chaste from afar, because in Dante's case, he never actually spoke to the historical Beatrice. He just saw her like 4 times and then had this crazy vision in southern France where she saved his immortal soul. Now, his compatriots may have thought of that as #goals, and therefore gave the impression that a knight's chaste love had to also be abstinent.
Abstinence is key. Abstinence is the best way to not is to not.
But according to the various NFP speakers I've heard in my lifetime, chastity is not equivalent to total abstinence. Rather, to put it in Sanderson and YouTube-friendly terms, it is to live according to one's station in life and to abide by any oaths given. With that working definition in mind, yeah, Kaladin the Super Paladin could totally have a real relationship with even the woman who saved his soul, because, he's actually spoken to her a few times about a few key topics, actually. However, I also have the deep-seated dislike of the idea that a wind boy ends up with a woman in blue.
But I'll always love you. Like a brother.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
Though I must admit that bias is paired with the ongoing and never-ending desire to see the woman in blue be paired with the brooding, angsty boy with the facial scar and an obsession with honor. So, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. I can intellectually think my way into finding Sillidan acceptable, but Sanderson has to do the work to get my feelings there. Because my feelings are still like, this is weird, like Tinkerbell having a crush on Peter Pan is weird, or whatever weirdness was going on in the remake of Flubber. Just because this trope has been done badly and for bad purposes in other media doesn't mean it cannot be done right. If Sanderson wants me to ship Sillidan, he'd better do it right. With that, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye!